Did you notice when Mr. Drake did little chop? He was chopping wood right there for a second. On what beat? Beat 4.
Yeah.
What did I do? And I mentioned that name, the Charleston rhythm. It's sort of something they use as an explanation. But it has a rhythmic hookup. So
And show them how that interacts.
so
Play your rhythm
1, 2,
first.
3, 4.
1 and the end of 2.
Mr. Red Garland, great pianist, right? Used a lot of this
See how
in
they
his
complement
band.
each other? And I'll be 1 and 3. What else do you need?
Give me a little variation.
For example, take that same tune and similar tempo and everything, but I want Leo to be soloing, and I want you to talk to them as you're showing them what you're doing, okay?
Okay.
So over the top of the music, just he'll demonstrate different things from not playing at all to, because he was doing so many different things just now, it's easy for it to all just kind of like, well, that was great, whatever all that was.
If it sounds easy, it's not easy.
And he mentioned practicing with a metronome. I would say one additional thing, practicing with great recordings too. Play along with recordings.
Yeah.
You'll absorb, now, all kinds of recordings, you'll hear various ways that time goes. Sometimes things are not metronomically accurate. In some of the greatest legendary jazz recordings, it's not always metronomically perfect. Depending on the conditions, depending on the attitude, depending on how much weed they smoked, who knows. But there could be all kinds of renderings of the time. It's still an important influence. But also play along with recordings that were done to a click track. Do play along with music that's metronomically solid, because you'll be called on to do it. Try playing with a click track the first time in the studio and you'll be like, wow, I thought I had a good time. Or try doing a show for a long period of time that's click, or Mike has done thousands of those. So in addition to metronome, play with recordings and then play with stuff that was done with a click. But anyway, so on to demonstration. Let's do Wine and Roses, and Stefan, talk them through the various approaches to comping that you were just doing. So,
You don't mind if I speak in Swedish, do you?
no, we want it
easy
to be
for me.
comfortable. You'll have subtitles.
I want to keep my secrets.
Let's do a slightly brighter tempo too if we're at it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
I'm counting off the melody, not necessarily in solo. I'm singing the melody in here and counting in the order.
Elaborate a little bit more, so in case anyone couldn't hear over the top of the music, just talk about those two different things you were doing.
Well, for me, comping, right? Maybe other people have different ideas about it, but I think as a general rule, we play on a tune, right? In this case, plays on Wine and Roses. So, and I know a lot of drummers, their left hand on the snare, they accent when the melody is not present in the holes, right? In the spaces. So that's a good go-to kind of a thing for both guitar players and piano players. So I'm singing the melody, and anytime I play, I try not to lose the melody, because I feel like if I lose the melody, well, I lose the sense of form and phrasing and everything, right? So you got to keep that melody with you, and I trust. And at the same time, though, I have a peripheral kind of a hearing going on, right? I'm listening to Leo, so I'm not completely just doing my thing, not paying attention to what he's doing. But I feel like I'm starting something, I take the initiative of comping a certain way. If I comp off the melody in the spaces, see, will that, it's that a good thing right now? It's,
Show them what that literally sounds like. So I'll
Okay.
play the melody, and you, so they
Right.
have it in their heads, and you play the comping approach in the gaps in the melody. He's
Right.
talking about the pre-existing melody gaps, okay? Not the gaps in his soloing, okay? So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
feels natural, right?
I'm still playing.
It's a conversation.
So he's having his own little conversation in his head with the
Right.
melody as a way of structuring his comping, and we wonder why it works so well. It's amazing. So that's cool. Then the other approach you were taking.
Well, I was like 1, 2, 3, 4. So I leave 2 bars rest,
Big
right?
fat holes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Now that approach to me is like, well, I want to give Leo a little bit more space, so he doesn't feel like I'm, just chugging down voicings or whatever rhythmic ideas into his, right, music making. So that's just sort of I'm just trying to be a team player here.
And when he does that, by the way, it has the exact same musical impact on the overall group as a brass section in a big band. Literally, they're not playing all the time. So when they do play, pop, it's something, and it has a huge impact, the gaps between them. And then the busier it gets, of course, the more intense, but if it's just in your face all the time, then it loses its momentum, right? It loses its impact. So those little punctuated things are really great.
As far as rhythmic ideas for myself that I have gained so much from are from listening to the Basie, the Count Basie big band, and the Thad Jones big band. Thad Jones has a little bit more like, he sneaks in rhythmic ideas a little bit more on different kind of places within the time frame, right? Basie can be a little bit more like a lot of downbeats, right?
But I'll say what I let the people generally call what. Okay, what are you doing? Okay, and then I'll tell him what it is, and he goes, "Is this like 32 bar tune?" He'll ask me what's the form of the tune if he doesn't know it, and I've even seen him look it up on his iPhone. So that's incredibly important. It's not a beat that he's about to play; it's a tune. So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, you're just trying to take tunes home and learn them and absorb them deeply. This is crucial for the drums as anybody in the band. And so he's already figured that out, and he thinks, what can I do to play the tune? Not just play a swing groove that I think I hear where we're going. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I guess maybe just to illustrate something along this lines with ensemble thinking or whatever, Stefan, would you grab your horn for a minute? Okay. We got 2 Stefans in the same space here. So let's think about the drum kit and the orchestration possibilities there, not in a wide way, but maybe just at this basic level. It's easy to get past people. Out of all the pieces of the kit that he has today, which one of them most closely resembles what I'm doing? It's rather abstract, but think about it. If we're playing swing-oriented music, which part of his kit?
The bass drum.
Perhaps.
Swing.
Well, right cymbal.
Yeah, the right cymbal. Now, he is probably feathering a lot of the quarter notes, so he's probably playing the bass drum pretty lightly on a lot of the quarter notes. But if you really boil it all down, play just your ride cymbal for a second. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Anything else? Just bring that all the time.
I think we need some piano.
Okay, so now, what part of his kit, not exclusively, but most closely resembles what the piano comping is doing? The snare, right. So now, just snare and ride cymbal, same tune, and now you comp a little bit, Stefan. Comp a little bit. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now, did you realize maybe all that's really all what a lot of it is? It's just knowing what parts correspond to what. It was eye-opening the first time someone pointed that out to me. That's why I may be saying the obvious to some of you, but that wasn't obvious to me at first. I didn't know all that. And all of a sudden, as soon I figured that out, I'm going, oh, that's where my ear can go. I'm trying to groove with the drummer. Listen there. That's this. And now, boom. There, when he did you hear him move the harmony up kind of chromatically? Okay, but if he had, and he already set that in motion for himself, like he spawned that idea for himself. He took a lick that he played and then he just moved it up chromatically. But I bet you anything, and it was the last 2 bars of the tune, it almost felt to me like, quickly, cram this in, cram this in. If you hadn't played anything, they would have played something even hipper. That would have, bam, you would have just launched into the next chorus. Okay? Now, that's contrived for me to say that because it was perfectly fine. But I'm just telling you, and especially in this kind of an atmosphere of tune, make the rhythm section even more a part of your solo. And even more amazing things will happen with the phrasing. Okay? So play a full chorus, and I want you just to, as a technique to try this, deliberately leave the last 2 bars of the chorus open.
Okay.
Okay? Just like on purpose. Telling everybody, okay? It better work. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Into the next phrase, make it sound like he did it, right? What note was that, Stefan?
It was like a D or something.
It was the A.
A, yeah.
It was making it all sound like a half diminished. I didn't know what it really sounded like until we got there. But it's all matters of proportion. I'm not just gonna like if you're ever sitting in, you'd probably notice if you go to that jam session, I'm not gonna throw you to the wolves if it's not like in your comfort zone, but someone like him, he can handle that a little bit, so we're gonna try some things out, you know. So anyway, don't you ever just suddenly just try something like, gee, I wonder.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sometimes, you know, you also think about when you have a mobile tune, it's like a C minor kind of thing, or you have a scale. Right? Well, what if we one bar of each scale note go up the scale? That's an example. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Are we ever gonna play the bridge?
Forget about the bridge.
Yeah. I mean, we're thinking on that level all the time when we're playing. You know, of like just throwing little voice leading things that we. How about going backwards? Go down instead. So sometimes a very conscious little. I wonder. Maybe you don't try it on the bandstand at first. Maybe try it in rehearsal or whatever with your best buddy. You know, but that's how you learn. Like just what it is, and then 9 times out of 10 you'll do it. You go, that was so hip. And you go, wait a minute, yeah, Herbie did that 25, 50 years ago, you know. So you're probably not reinventing the wheel. And then just in terms of the rhythmic vocabulary that's a very different approach, right? It's not dance oriented. It still has to have a time, but sometimes in that approach, I try to think of what would be the impact of me not walking, so that I'm functioning almost like Stefan's left hand. You know, I'm with his left hand, and I'm just. So if I play anything rhythmic, it needs to be in the pocket, and my downbeats need to be solid about every 2 bars or so. That opens it up for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So let's just do that for a second. Just rhythm section. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. To do that some more. I was mentioning last Saturday about what it is to be melodic, what melodic sense is, and the way I was trying to phrase it is that all of us are influenced by all the melodies we've ever heard, from the simplest Mary Had a Little Lamb to Debussy and everything in between. But that needs to be a more definitive influence by you studying great melodies. And I guess just to summarize what I was maybe sort of poorly illustrating for you last time is what I kind of condensed down to think about what makes great melodies really is 2 things. All great melodies in some way or other utilize something like a sequence, sequential progression, a development of an idea across further material, and a sense of resolution. So if you would just listen to this one little passage, hopefully after all this couple hours worth I can play this, but this is a little excerpt of one of the Bach cello suites. And just listen to what Bach does right here. Did you hear the sequence first of this shape? Then up some kind of arpeggio, then. And that last one is exactly the same shape that someone like Charlie Parker would use for playing on a dominant 7th flat 9. Right? So it's no accident that Charlie Parker would, maybe by accident, maybe consciously, be influenced by that sense of sequence that you see all over the place in Bach. And then notice the sense of resolution. Not only, I don't mean just resolution like, ooh, he finally got home. I mean that it goes here. That arpeggio is the tonic chord G minor. Then he drops a 7 back to the same note where he was. So he doesn't forget the B flat that he got up to. And so you hear the sense of resolution, which really winds up boiling down to 3 blind mice and key of G minor. By the way, Michael Heatley here. This is, you may or may not realize this if you're not a bass player, but it's incredibly difficult to play anybody else's bass. And then much less to come in and play on a rapid tempo tune, you know, in front of everybody like that. So I got my hat goes off to you. I would say my hair, but it's already gone. So why don't we pick a maybe a slightly more relaxed tempo, but any tune you guys feel like. There's no greater love? No greater love? Okay, cool. So, when this happens and you're calling up a tune, you'll notice that there needs to be an agreement about how we're starting this thing. The most typical common themes, common intros if you will, are either play the last A section of the tune or play a turnaround progression, 1-6-2-5, 3-6-2-5 in the key you're in, or a 5 pedal. Or some will say just start right on it, meaning right on the melody, okay? But this tune has melody pickups, so I think it's cool to put an intro in front of it. So let's just, for grins, let's do a turnaround in B flat, and then give him a nice little pickup measure, okay? So bar 8, kind of leave a little space for that. 1, 2, 1, 6, 2, 5. Okay, so how satisfied, Andre, how satisfied will you be if we get to the end of the 7 minutes or so that would have been, and it never gets any more intense than that?
Not at all.
Okay. What will you do to make that not be where that stays?
I'd probably at the top of the next form play a press roll, start digging into the ride a bit more.
Okay. That's too late.
Too late, all right?
You should already be going a little bit. You're still whispering.
Okay.
Like, if I didn't know what you were doing was sort of technically right, because it was the right style and the time was decent, it was the right, you were doing a nice concept, but it was so darn polite, I was like, is there a drummer? Oh, yes, he's sort of playing something. Right, Mike? Okay.
So what happened, Andre, is this. You started that tune with brushes on the ride.
Yep.
So there was already no definition going on.
Okay.
Okay, it's really difficult to play brushes on a ride and get definition to a band. So, yes, by all means, we all start with brushes. On the snare, to give definition, guys, this is where it's at, and I've got it. All right, get in their face with it. Okay, it's not a rock tune, obviously, we're not approaching it. You know what I mean, though, right? Becomes a definition. And then when I got to the ride and the solo, I was waiting for you to dig in, and John picked up on it as well, and it became frustrating to listen to, because we know what it's supposed to be doing at that point. Dig in. Give me a stick, please. All right. Who's played? You're right, Stefan. 2, 1, 2, solo.